Let's bring in our panel of experts now. Kim Degonia is the former assistant district attorney for Riverside County, California. Bobby Chacon is a former FBI special agent, and Laura Mathias is a journalist and hosted the Hidden True Crime podcast. Great to have all three of you here. Kim, I'd like to start with you. They've not yet found the baby's body, but they have already charged the parents with murder. How much evidence do you need before you can file charges like this?
Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for having me. In a case like this, the standard is probable cause in order to have both parents arrested for the charges of murder. So it sounds like from what your investigation has uncovered that there seems to be quite enough evidence to charge both with murder.
Bobby, parents are both in custody tonight. They will obviously try, they're being held separately. They'll probably try and get one of them to flip and confess, likely the mother, correct?
Exactly, Elizabeth. I mean, we've been down this road before. You pick out which one you think you'll have the most success putting pressure on, and that, in this case, because of his prior history, I think it would be the mother, and she's obviously,
the father's the one with the prior history.
Right, and the mother would be the one that you would put the pressure on, but it's her child as well. So I think that that's exactly what the strategy at this point is going to be. Really go at both of them hard and see if you can get some cooperation.
Lauren, sources tell News Nation not only that there was a lot of blood inside the home, but that all the photos of Emmanuel had been removed from the house. All the baby's clothing had been thrown away. How long do we think this baby might have been dead?
I think that we are suspecting actually quite a long time. According to, the true crime podcasting community, they have been speculating when the last time Emmanuel was seen. We're hearing various dates, some even saying as early as August 3rd, but there's no sighting that we have known of the day of this. Now we don't even have to say alleged kidnapping. Well, I guess alleged kidnapping still, but
alleged murder in this case.
Alleged murder now, right? Exactly. Thank you, Elizabeth. And we are seeing this sort of pattern of it's been quite some time since baby Emmanuel has been seen. So who knows when this alleged murder now actually even happened.
Bobby, what do police do? I mean, you have a lot of experience in this. How do they, and we're seeing video right here. This is of Rebecca Haro being taken into custody, handcuffed. She's been officially charged with murder already. What do police do in this case? They still haven't found the body of this baby.
Yeah, and sound like that's the next biggest step. That's where all the resources are going to go into. And now what you're doing is you're looking at cell phone data. You're looking at if you can track their cars or their cell phones in the last few weeks, like we just heard. We don't know how long the baby's been missing. We don't know when the last time the baby's been found. They probably have an idea from talking to friends, neighbors, and relatives on who last saw the baby other than these two parents. And then so they can work from that kind of rough date. And then look at if you can somehow pinpoint the parents' movements, either through their cell phones, through the mileage on their cars, where they got gas, and things like that. I live not far from this area. I live about 20 minutes away, and there's a lot of rough terrain in this area. It's also very hot this time of year. It's 115 degrees in my house today. You have to just start looking in a lot of different places, and you have to be ready to go forward if you don't find the body, because there is that chance.
Kim, the baby's father, as we said, has a criminal record of felony child abuse. He's convicted of willful child cruelty in 2023 for abusing his 10-week-old daughter. The abuse happened in 2018. She suffered incredibly serious wounds, this tiny baby, fractured ribs, a fractured skull, a swollen brain, a fractured leg. His lawyer said, quote, "One crime doesn't mean you've committed every other crime, especially to take your own child." But I've got to ask, why wasn't this man in prison for being found guilty for crimes this serious on a 10-week-old baby?
Well, that's the great question here, Elizabeth. He absolutely should have. The charges are horrifically undercharged from his 2021 offenses with his 10-week-old baby. That charge in and of itself should have been charged as an assault under age 8 years old with permanent paralysis, which is a prison term of life. He should have never been out of custody. But more disturbing is while he was out of custody, he received only probation for injuring that 10-week-old baby. And he's been back to Riverside Court 5 separate times on a probation violation where he had a 6-year prison stint hanging over his head if he violated probation at all from that 2023 guilty plea of what he had done to his 10-week-old daughter. So the fact that he was out of custody to murder Emmanuel is quite offensive. He should have never been out of custody since 2021.
Well, not only was he not in prison, but he went on to father 2 more children, one of whom now police believe he murdered. Bobby, we know also that authorities very quickly took the couple's other child, a 2-year-old. They took that 2-year-old out of the house and placed him in Child Protective Services. The 2-year-old is, I think, too young to be a witness to anything, or is he?
He probably is too young. I mean, they'll have specialists. They have really good specialists that deal with children in these situations. I certainly am not one of them. I would bring in specialists like that to talk to these children. But 2 years old does seem to me to be a little too young to have anything of value, in the case.
There's also the question, though, Bobby, they were at a football game for one of Jacob Haro's older children. I don't even know how many children in total he had. But that child, if that child was old enough to play football, is old enough to be a witness if he saw anything.
That's right. If he saw anything or if he heard anything, even after the fact, he may have heard something or saw something apart from the actual murder, saw something else that could be of value to investigators. So, I'm sure that they're having, again, those special people that are, well-versed and trained in interviewing children of that age. And I'm sure that child, that a 7-year-old certainly could have seen something or heard something of value, separate and apart from the actual act of violence that could be of value to the investigators.
Lauren, let's talk a little bit about how much Rebecca Haro's story began to fall apart and how quickly it fell apart. She told police that, and the media, she went on TV 2 days after this kidnapping they said happened. She went on television and said, oh, this black eye that I have here, this big bruise, I got that because the attacker knocked me out. Well, it turns out videos emerged of her with that black eye for days, maybe even weeks before the Thursday she said the baby disappeared. In addition, nobody at that football game, nobody at that big box store or that parking lot where she said the baby was kidnapped, nobody else that day saw baby Emmanuel.
Absolutely. Her story started falling apart immediately. And law enforcement now state that they saw that as well as the public. Again, the black eye that you mentioned, she had it earlier. Again, not being able, she says herself that she couldn't see this assailant. Well, guess what? She's not the only one. And it wasn't, necessarily because she was knocked out unconscious, because no surveillance that we know of has ever seen anyone that was stating hola and taking a baby or attacking anyone in this parking lot. Everything she has said, not a single bit of that has been shown to be accurate. And again, even though baby Emmanuel hasn't been located, they're stating that they have enough evidence now to charge these two with murder. So clearly there's evidence out there that shows that there's been no sighting of Emmanuel, and her story has absolutely not made any sense from the very beginning.
Yeah. Hey, Bobby, will they be able to test the blood that they say they have found on the carpeting inside the home and do a DNA match to the baby? Would they have a DNA? He was just born, I'm assuming, in a hospital. Do they take tests like that? Would there have been umbilical cord, something like that, that might make them be able to make a match that that blood is in fact from the baby?
Yeah, I mean, they have the baby's known blood now. Hopefully you can get off a hairbrush, you can get off a lot of different things. You can get off a dirty diaper. This supposed dirty diaper from Big Five, I don't think ever existed, but I think that they could get it off a dirty diaper, or they can get off some type of clothing in the house if they haven't sanitized the house of all the kids. They scrubbed their phones of all the kids' photos, which is odd in itself, but now they may have gotten rid of all the clothing, but they still could. I'm sure they're meticulously going through that house looking for some DNA from that child to match it to that blood, known DNA, or say a article of clothing to this questioned DNA that's in the carpet. Also, Elizabeth, this black eye, I've been knocked out unconscious. I've been hit in the head with a pipe. I've been punched in the face where I wasn't knocked out. To knock someone out cold, a human being has to sustain such a blow to the head that you would have blunt force trauma. You would have a much, much bigger injury than just a little black eye. You'd probably have a laceration on your skull somewhere. You'd probably hit the ground and have more bruising. She was not knocked out from whatever that little bruise on her face is.
Yeah, well, obviously, police don't believe that either. Kim DeGonia, Bobby Chacon, Laura Mathias, thank you both so much. This case so reminiscent in some ways of that Susan Smith case back in 1994, the mother who claimed a man came up and stole her 2 young boys, only to be found guilty later of murdering her own 2 young boys and making that whole story up. Thank you both so much. We'll be continuing to follow this as the story develops. All right.